This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. If you're looking for cards in the US, look no further as you can use the promo code MTGMUDSTA to get you 5% off anything on the site. Or if you're in Canada like me, you can use the same promo code at Multizone to get 10% off your orders of singles. If cards aren't what you're looking for, Original Magic Art has playmats, tokens, and sweet art that you can use that same promo code to help you get 5% off your order there. If you're looking to bling out your cards, using Alter Sleeves is a great way to do so, and you can click the affiliate link in my About section to help out the channel as you make an order. And if you just want to help out the channel, you can always consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month and join the generic Goblin Gang. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game features those dashing Danes, but unfortunately I didn't record opening hands. We have Jesper playing Tuvasa the Sunlit, I am playing Mistform Ultimus, Sander is playing Ardenn Tana, and Adam is playing Araumi of the Dead Tide. Jesper wins the die roll and starts us off. Jesper plays a forest and he casts Abundant Growth, enchanting the forest. I play an island and pass. Sander plays a mountain valley, passing to Adam. Adam casts Chrome Mox, exiling a blue card, and then casts a Hedron Crab. He then plays a Verdant Catacomb and targets himself with a mill. He then cracks the Catacomb, losing 1 to go and find a Sunken Hollow, and triggers the Crab once more, milling himself for 3. Jesper's turn has him playing another forest, and he casts a Soul Ring, followed by a Verduran Enchantress. I play an island and pass. Sander activates the Mountain Valley, sacrificing it to go and find a Stomping Grounds, which he has come into play untapped, taking 2. He follows up with a Castle Embreth, and then casts a Kurtribe Elder. He sacrifices Steve and goes to find a mountain, passing. On Adam's turn, he casts a Mystic Remora and passes. Jesper plays a Serra's Sanctum, and he then casts Tuvasa, passing turn. For my turn, I cast a Shapesharer and pass. Sander plays at a Temple Garden, Shocked In, and then casts one of his 2 commanders, Tana the Bloodsower. Adam's turn has him paying for the Mystic Remora, and then passing. Jesper casts a Seal of Primordium, drawing 2 cards. He then plays a land, he casts a Mana Bloom where X is 1, and draws 2 more cards. And sacrifices the Seal to destroy the Mystic Remora. He then uses the 1 mana from the Mana Bloom's ability, and taps out for a Copy Enchantment, and has the Copy Enchantment come into play, and draw 2. The Copy Enchantment comes into play as Abundant Growth and enchants itself onto a forest. My turn has me drawing and then casting Rapid Hybridization on the Enchantress. I don't have a land to play unfortunately and have to pass after that. Sander plays a Sacred Foundry untapped, taking 2, and casts a Conqueror's Flail. He then casts his other commander, Ardenn, and moves to combat. He gets an Ardenn trigger, which allows him to equip the Flail onto Tana, and goes at Jesper. Jesper blocks with a token, but still takes 2 from the trample, and Sander gets to make 2 Sapling tokens from Tana's ability, and then passes to Adam. Adam plays a Phyrexian Tower, which comes in and triggers the Crab. He mills himself for 3, and passes. Jesper plays a Yavimaya Coast as his land for turn, and then remembers that he should put his Mana Bloom back to hand. He then casts Seal of Removal, triggering Tuvasa to draw a card. With the trigger on the stack, Adam flashes in Hull Breacher. This has Adam putting Treasure Token into play instead of Jesper drawing his extra card. Jesper then casts Mana Bloom again for 2 this time, and follows up with an Enchanted Evening. With all the permanents now being enchantments, he moves to combat and swings the massive Tuvasa at Adam with 13 power. Adam blocks with a Crab, and with nothing else, Jesper passes. I draw, but can't draw a land to save my life. I have to discard a card, and we see Seafloor Oracle go to the graveyard. Sander plays a Krosan Verge for turn, and swings Tana at me for 5. He deals 5, and then makes 5 Sapling tokens with her ability, and passes to Adam. Adam draws, and follows my example with no land to play, and has to pass. Jesper draws, and plays a Tropical Island for turn. He then floats 13 white mana as he taps the Serra's Sanctum thanks to the Enchanted Evening being out. He sacrifices the Seal of Removal to bounce the Hull Breacher, and then casts an Oblivion Ring. This triggers Tuvasa, allowing Jesper to draw one card. Jesper then targets the Chrome Mox with the O-Ring as it comes in, and Adam floats a blue and exiles it. Jesper then moves to change phases, and in response, Adam casts Hibernation, returning all green permanents to their owner's hands. After it resolves, Jesper regains priority in his main phase, and with his mana still floating, he casts a Calming Verse. With that on the stack, I use Cyclonic Rift to bounce Enchanted Evening to Jesper's hand to avoid the game ending. Calming Verse then resolves, destroying nothing. He then goes about recasting Tuvasa, and brings back the Enchanted Evening. Once that's resolved, he puts out an Aura Thief and passes. I draw, find nothing, and pass. At the end of my turn, Sander casts a Beast Within to blow up the Enchanted Evening, and once it's resolved, moves to his turn. In Sander's main phase, he then casts Song of the Dryads and enchants the Serra's Sanctum, turning it into a forest. He then equips Ardenn with the flail using the trigger, and passes to Adam. Adam draws, and plays an Urborg that he just drew, and passes. Jesper draws for turn, and recasts the Abundant Growth, and with it on the stack, Adam flashes in Hullbreacher. Jesper then casts Copy Enchantment, and copies the Abundant Growth, making Adam another treasure. He follows up with a Parallax Wave, and then moves to combat. He swings the team at Adam for 10, who takes it, and Jesper passes. I finally draw a land and slam it on the table. I'm then able to cast Grand Architect and pass to Sander. At the end of my turn, Sander cracks his Krosan Verge, going to find a Plains and a Forest card to put to field. Sander plays the Great Henge, and taps it, gaining 2 life and generating 2 green. He uses the mana to cast Tana, drawing a card off Tana entering the battlefield thanks to the Henge. Moving to combat, he equips Tana with the flail, and swings Ardenn at Jesper for 2. With no blocks, Jesper takes the hit, and Sander then passes. Adam plays an island for turn, and casts his commander. With Araumi in play, he then casts a Deranged Assistant. Moving to combat, he swings the Hullbreacher at Jesper for 3. Jesper's upkeep has him removing a Fade counter from the Parallax Wave, and he follows up by casting an Opalescence in his main phase. And with Tuvasa's draw trigger, Adam makes a treasure instead of Jesper drawing. Jesper then tries to combo with the Parallax Wave and Opalescence by exiling all creatures and then exiling the Parallax Wave. This works much in the way that Fiend Hunter works, when you respond to the trigger of it exiling something by sacrificing it first, which has it resolving its leave play ability first, which means that the permanents that are exiled will never return. I'm probably not doing the best job of explaining it, but basically it allows him to exile all creatures permanently, and continuing to have the Parallax Wave come back, which has it enter again with 5 Fade counters each time. Jesper then recasts the Mana Bloom, putting 2 into the X, and he moves to combat. He's able to swing at Sander for 15, and in his second main phase, he removes the counter from Mana Bloom to cast Flickering Ward, enchanting Tuvasa and naming blue. I draw, and it's turn 8 when I play my 4th land, which is a Rogue's Passage, and I pass. Sander taps his Great Henge again to gain 2 life, and this time casts City of Solitude. In response, Jesper uses Mana Bloom to generate a white mana, and bounce the Flickering Ward to his hand. Once that's done, Sander then casts Ardenn, drawing a card from the Henge, and follows up with the Nature's Lore. He goes to find a forest to put into play. He then moves to combat, and using Ardenn's trigger, is able to move the Song of the Dryads from the Serra's Sanctum, and enchants the Opalescence, turning it into a forest in what I think is a very spicy play. He then moves through his combat step, and casts a Skull Clamp, and pays to equip it onto Ardenn, and passes. Adam casts Mental Note, targeting himself, and follows up with a Cloud of Fairies, who comes in, and untaps 2 lands. He then casts Liliana Dreadhorde General, and uses her minus ability to have all players sacrifice 2 creatures. Once that's done, he then passes turn. Jesper recasts the Flickering Ward, drawing off of Tuvasa, and naming green this time as it enters. He then recasts the Mana Bloom that he'd bounced back to hand, and swings Tuvasa at Liliana, which takes her out. He then casts an Arbor Elf and passes to me. I play a land and cast a Heuristic Study, which is kinda late, but at least I didn't miss a lot of triggers with it. Sander untaps and recasts Tana using the Great Henge, and gaining 2 life and drawing a card. He then plays a Fires of Yavimaya and equips Tana with the Flail and the Skull Clamp as he moves to combat. He swings Tana at Jesper for 6 and connects, making 6 Saproling tokens. At the end of Sander's turn, I realize I forgot at least 2 Heuristic Study triggers, and draw from them at least because everyone feels so bad for me. Adam draws, plays a Soul Ring, and recasts Araumi, passing. Jesper counts up his mana and decides to bounce the Flickering Ward and then recast it, enchanting Tuvasa and naming green again, plus drawing a card from casting it. He then casts Kenra's Transformation, enchanting Tana and drawing a card. Miri's Guile is then cast next, withdraws him a card, and he follows up with a Femrith Enchantress. Moving to combat, Tuvasa goes at Sander for 10, bringing him to a total of 17 commander damage once Tuvasa connects. Jesper then uses an Arbor Elf to untap the tropical island that's enchanted by Abundant Growth, and taps it for white, bouncing the Flickering Ward back to hand. He removes a counter from Mana Bloom for white, casting it on Tuvasa again, and this time naming blue, and passes. I draw, play an island, and having drawn a couple cards in the Heuristic Study, have to discard down to 7 and pass my turn. Sander draws and casts a Steel Shaper's Gift, exclaiming that he's got this and laughing joyously. He finds a Sword of Fire and Ice, which he puts to hand. He casts the sword and equips it to Tana. He then starts counting up power. He casts an Overwhelming Stampede to give his team +9/+9 in trample, and moves to combat, swinging enough to kill the entire table, and winning the game with the old school finisher. Game review time. I don't know what was in our opening hand, but mine must have been awful. I apologize for keeping it. This was embarrassing. Adam's deck unfortunately also seemed to struggle, and we've seen his Araumi deck do much better than this, so it's a bit of a shame to see it flounder as much as it did. Jesper's Enchantress deck certainly didn't, and that Mana Bloom seemed to come into play a lot, as well as the Flickering Ward. These helped him draw into a bunch of cards, and in Adam's case, make a lot of treasures. I will say though the highlight of this game was definitely the Ardenn Tana deck. Tana is a fun commander for Gruul, making Saproling tokens when she connects is definitely on theme, and the idea of having Ardenn the command zone waiting so that you can equip all that gear onto her is fantastic. It was even better when he started swapping around the auras, like the Song of the Dryad, onto Troublesome Permanence. I thought that was a beautiful line of play, and something I hadn't even thought of at the time. And my favorite part of the whole game was winning with Overwhelming Stampede. This used to be one of the main win cons in my Prosh deck, and I love seeing it in action. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc., Multizone, Original Magic Art, and Alter Sleeves. But it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.